There you go.
Always fun to do these remote ones.
Yeah. It sounds like you have a lot of fun setting them up.
Oh man, it's always like okay, I got to use the one piece of software that I never touch, and then it's a whole thing. Anyways, what's poppin', players? Welcome back to the Two Penny Gamescast, episode 77. I am your host, Tavin Bothel, here with my good friend and co-host Connor Elliott. Say hello to the people, Connor.
Hello.
Nice, straight into the cough. We are recording remotely because lucky little Connor here has caught himself a second case of the COVID-19. So,
And it played out the same way where I thought I had allergies, and then it didn't get better. I was like, shit.
my thing is last week we did our top 10 games of the year, and Phil was saying he felt a little sick. I gave him some Dayquil, and he was like, okay, yeah, that'll help. And then the next day, super mad ill, but he couldn't get in for a COVID test. There's no times for it anywhere. I'm 110% certain Phil had COVID, gave it to you, probably gave it to me, but I'm symptom free at the moment. And then I gave it to a third friend of mine later that day who I went out with. So, isn't this just so much fun?
It's the next wave. I mean, everyone's been talking about it.
Oh no, dude, it is not playing around this time. It feels like early pandemic times. Like my restaurant that I work at is talking about going into takeout only again for the first time in over like almost 2 years. So yeah, it's a messy time. So anyways, but ladies and gentlemen, enough of that. Let's get right into it. If you didn't know, this show, me and Connor come to you every week, Monday, 8 a.m., youtube.com/2pennygamescast, or mainstream podcast services of your choice, Spotify, SoundCloud, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. We're out there. Please drop a follow, drop a like, rate us 5 stars. Spotify just incorporated 5-star ratings into their podcast systems the other week, so please drop one of those for us. Even if you're not listening on Spotify, just run over there. If you have a Spotify account, just drop 5 stars for us. It'll help out so much. And if just talking about video games and stuff doesn't suit your needs, you can watch us play video games live over at twitch.tv/2pennygames, where last week I played the entirety of the Forgotten City on stream, and we will talk about that a little later. But this week we should, depending on how the whole health situation works out, we should be returning to our hype playthrough of God of War. Hype is a show we do at twitch.tv/2pennygames every Tuesday, 2 p.m. Central now, because Phil moved and it takes us a little while to set up now because of that. Where me and my good buddy Phil sit down and we show each other games the other has never played before. We are currently working our way through God of War 2018. It's his first playthrough of it. Please come by, join us for that. It's a whole lot of fun to see him react to huge, big-ass moments like we know are in that game. But that's for another day. This show, and this show is the 2 Penny Gamescast, in which me and Connor come to you every week. We give you 2 topics, 2 pennies, if you will, and give you our 2 cents on the happenings of the video game industry. This week, Connor, it's a bit of a busy week. We're back in the news cycle, we're back in the swing of things, and we're starting strong this year. I just realized I forgot to load up my time codes. Fuck it, I'll do it later. Anyways, so starting off real quick, PlayStation VR 2 has been detailed. It was announced a little while back. I believe we covered it on this show. It was announced last year? ? Yeah, it must have been last year. And they came out this last week with a whole bunch of details for us, which is very exciting. So I'm pulling from the PlayStation blog from one Hideki Nishino, Senior Vice President and Platform Experience, where they say, Happy New Year, everyone. It is my great pleasure to start off 2022 with news on our next generation virtual reality system for the PlayStation 5 console, starting with the official name PlayStation VR 2 and our new VR controller, PlayStation VR 2 Sense controller. That's a mouthful of a name. PlayStation VR 2 takes VR gaming to a whole new level, enabling a greater sense of presence and allowing players to escape into game worlds like never before. With the headset on and controllers in hands, players will feel a heightened range of sensations unlike any other. Thanks to the creativity of the game worlds being built by our world-class developers and the latest technology incorporated into the hardware, building upon our innovations from PlayStation 5, PlayStation VR 2 adds a true next-gen experience with high-fidelity visuals, new sensory features, and enhanced tracking, along with a simplified single-cord setup. So, they then bullet point all of the different features and stuff. I'm just going to kind of run through them real quickly. A high-fidelity visual experience, 4K HDR, 110-degree field of view, OLED display, resolution of 2000 by 2040 per eye, and smooth frame rates of 90 over 120 hertz. Headset-based controller tracking. So the headset tracks your controllers instead of having cameras pointed at you all the time. New sensory features. PlayStation VR 2 Sense technology combines eye tracking, headset feedback, 3D audio, innovative PS VR 2 Sense controller to create an incredibly deep feeling of immersion. Headset feedback is a new sensory feature that amplifies the sensations of in-game actions from the player. Additionally, PS5's Tempest 3D audio tech makes sounds in the player's surroundings come alive, adding to new levels of immersion. There's vibration motors in the headset. Eye tracking. PSVR 2 detects the motion of your eyes, so a simple look in a specific direction can create additional input for the game character. This allows players to interact more intuitively in new and lifelike ways, allowing for a heightened emotional response and enhanced expression that provides a new level of realism in gaming. PlayStation VR 2 combined with haptic feedback and adaptive triggers for the Sense controllers. Simple setup process with a single cable connected directly to PS5. You can immediately jump into the VR experience. Today, we are also pleased to reveal that one of the biggest exclusive franchises on PlayStation will be coming to PS VR 2. Horizon: Call of the Mountain from Guerrilla and Firesprite. This original game is being built specifically for PS VR 2 and will open the doors for players to go deeper into the world of Horizon. I hope you've enjoyed the exciting updates. Yada, 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 yada. Connor!
Dude, this will be a really good porn device. I'm excited for this. I'm happy that Sony's the one who are taking the foray into revolutionizing VR, because it's definitely a something that has, we knew
from
that
the console perspective.
From the console perspective, yes, we knew that VR was in its early stages for a while and kinks were being worked out. But from reading the specs that they're promising, this might be the best reason to buy a VR. It sounds like it'll be the most effective VR system on the market, at least from my limited knowledge on how the VR market is looking at right now. Because this seems like it's better than what most other companies are offering for their own VR headsets. I
mean, Oculus is running the game right now.
Yeah, they're clearly the ones who've been dominating it.
Yeah. So you look at that, and there's some pros and cons here. When you look at the PlayStation VR 2. Oculus Quest 2, I believe, is the specific model I'm about to reference, is wireless. Headset tracking and controller tracking is all built in like so. It's got, the best screens for a fairly affordable price, and it's not tied to PlayStation, so, you're getting tons of more games and gaming experiences on that platform. But this, I think, is a really good sign that PlayStation actually really does care about their VR slice of their business model. It is unfortunate that it is still wired and connected to the PlayStation 5, but it's just a single wire this time. From my understanding, neither of us have the first generation PSVR, and from my understanding, it's quite a hassle to set up and put all together. It's basically more work. It's more plug-in work than plugging in a console.
Damn. I guess that's why it's one of their biggest selling features right now.
Yeah. So the single cord, disappointing. It's not wireless, but understandable. All of their little tidbits and things. I think the stats for as far as the 4K HDR, 110 field, 90 over 120 hertz. I do wish the frame rate was just a touch higher, but. I think they're marketing themselves towards the more affordable. They're trying to hit the right balance of affordability meets premium gameplay experiences. And though we don't have any price points here, if we're to take the PSVR 1 launched at $300 and all of its competitions were $600 plus things, things are different now. You can get an Oculus Quest for I think like $300 or something like that. So
yeah, minimum that's what it's going. But you can get a $400 one, which I guess has better stuff on it.
You know, and then at launch, the PSVR came in severely underpowered in comparison to its competition. Still using PlayStation 3 Move controllers was a huge mistake. So now having its own dedicated PSVR 2 Sense controllers, I think is great. They're using a lot of the technology that is in the PS5 DualSense, such as the haptic feedback and the adaptive triggers. All of that sounds great. I love those. Those are gimmicks for the DualSense, but I love those gimmicks. They really allow for more inputs, and they allow for a little bit more of an immersive feel when done properly. Sometimes they do get in the way, though. And you know, overall, I think this is just a clear shot, not a shot across the bow, but this is a clear sign that Sony is really going to we tested the waters. It's working. VR is coming in a big and meaningful way in terms of it will be comparable to every other type of platform and way of gaming. It's not there yet. I would say in terms of killer IP, killer games that you have to play, there are few and far between. With that, you think of Half-Life Alyx. You think of I know Blood and Truth did some numbers. The Astrobot VR game did some numbers. And then from there, I don't know. What is the mouse game that PlayStation has that I can't think of? Moss. Moss, was cute, and Moss 2 looks to be even cuter. So, I think the future is bright for VR, but we're still in those early stages where it's not a main column, but it's clearly growing. And then with their announcement, and then a quick teaser trailer of Horizon Call of the Mountain. Connor, did you watch the trailer?
I did, yes.
Fantastic. What did you think, first of all?
I don't know if it's the biggest selling point for me for VR. I mean, I don't even as far as the Sony VR headset. I don't even know if I'll be getting it.
Right.
Because VR really does speak to me as kind of a thing that I would get when it's really, really just gone to a point where it's revolutionized the gaming space rather than just kind of a testing site for new games and new ways to play video games. But the Horizon, out of all the things, out of all the franchises it could have done, this one makes the most sense because the environments of Horizon Zero Dawn look great, and from the little trailer that we got, they look like they'll be fantastic in the VR as well.
Mm-hmm.
Gameplay-wise, though, I don't know if it's. I don't know how games play on VR because I've never actually played a game on them. I put the headset on once before, so I know what it looks like and what to expect, which is why the visuals are the most appealing thing to me in this. But I don't know how well the game would control. It's kind of hard to tell from this trailer.
So, well, yeah, clearly, and it's just a teaser trailer, and I think it sells exactly what it needs to sell in terms of Horizon specifically. I disagree with you, actually. I think Horizon is actually in terms of all of Sony's IPs, I think Horizon is one of the better ones to pull, just because the sense of scale in Zero Dawn specifically was done very, very well, and I think the trailer has a focus on the tall necks, which are your classic climb the tower, reveal more of the map, clear out that fog of war type thing. But the tall necks were a highlight in Zero Dawn back in the day, where it was okay, it's that, but it's a little more of a puzzle of okay, how do I climb this tall neck? How do I go about it? And you look up at it and you're Aloy and it's a third-person camera and you're seeing the sense of scale there. To put that in first person in VR, I think would be incredible. And just the idea of the tall necks alone, looking up and seeing this gigantic giraffe-like robotic monstrosity would be really, really freaking cool. How that plays, I don't know. There's a lot of experiences of bow and arrow type games in VR where you're pulling back on bowstrings and letting them fly on, a whole bunch of things. I've been to a VR arcade and I played a whole bunch of things. I did the Beat Saber. I did a tower defense game where you fought off ogres with bows and arrows specifically, and then Super Hot and all the classics. So I've had some limited experience with VR and I've always enjoyed it. For me, VR has always been let me wait for the second generation of things. I've been going back and forth on whether I want an Oculus Quest. My PC is not really the strongest piece of hardware out there, so I don't know how well it would really run any VR games. But now here with this PSVR 2, I am actually really interested because PlayStation has the IP that I would be interested in. I would love to see a Ghost of Tsushima VR game with sword fighting and different stances and so forth. That sounds dope to me. I would love to see what this Horizon Call of the Mountain would be. You just keep going forward and more with more IP that they have under their belts. I think Infamous would be a dope VR game. Let me shoot some lightning at some motherfuckers real quick.
Jumping off buildings, doing all running around all those the rooftops. That'd be fun.
Exactly. Some Spider-Man, something with Spider-Man maybe, or maybe something Uncharted like or Last of Us like. I don't know. It would be interesting to see how all of that would play out. I think currently PlayStation is looking to be the front runner of producing AAA VR games, not just experiences but games, with a full suite of features and so forth that you would come to expect. And I think when Resident Evil 7 came out and that game is entirely playable in VR on PSVR only, I think from the jump PlayStation has been all in on VR, and it just continues to be that way. I am interested in a PSVR 2 depending on price, but my biggest hang up now is I don't have the space for VR. So I don't know how I would do that. But we'll see in the coming months to years to see how that plays out later. Connor, when do you think we can expect this, and what do you think a fair asking price would be for this?
Well, let's see. As far as when it'll come out, I feel like we might see it at the end of the year in preparation for the holidays. Now, that would ideally be the best choice, but as far as developing it, I would think they'd also understandably do it sometime in early 2023 after the holiday seasons, just so they can, work out all the kinks. Because PlayStation obviously would want this to be good right out the gate because it is going to be their best challenge to VR headsets that are coming out today.
For comparison, the PlayStation VR 1 came out October 13th, 2016.
Okay, so it's been a long while. Jesus, didn't think it was that long. So what was the asking price of the first VR headset?
I believe it was $300, but let me go and check now.
Yeah, I'm checking myself. I'm seeing it for $349, but I don't know if that was the initial price.
PSVR initial price, release date, $400 is what I'm seeing here. Okay, so it was $400. Yeah, launching October for $399, so $400. There you go.
Dang, that's more than the Oculus Rift, and by what you were saying, it really wasn't close to being as good. Well, in light of that,
you have to remember, like, the price thing is way different than it was. Like, at launch, other than the PlayStation VR, everything else was like $600. There was one model from Oculus that was like $800 or something like that. So it used to be a way more expensive piece of hardware. Now, not so much.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense because the new Oculus Rifts are $300 to $400.
Yeah.
So for this next VR headset, I would go ahead and guess an estimate at around $400. I could see them pushing something like that, especially if it does deliver, if it does actually perform very well. That'd be understandable. But yeah, I can also see it maybe being a little bit lower and being in like the $350 range, something like that. But that'd be my rough estimate.
So I'm pretty much with you here. I could see this coming this year. In the holiday season, much like how the first iteration came out. I could see it coming out in March of next year, but with how production is, so difficult right now, and people are having troubles getting PlayStation 5s out there, and that's still, in terms of PlayStation, that's still Sony's bread and butter right here. I don't see, and it doesn't look like it's gonna stop anytime soon. There's no rush to get this thing out the door, in my head. So I think it makes plenty of sense to wait, hold off, maybe even wait a full year and wait until late next year in 2023, somewhere in that October-November range, where nothing's really going on. You've got 2 years of PlayStation 5 under your belt, plenty of time to develop a killer launch lineup with games like Horizon and anything Moss 2 and anything else that they have in production right now. And then, bundle all of that together. I would even say put a have either Moss 2 or maybe Horizon or something else, maybe another Astrobot game, be a pack-in with PSVR 2. Price is where it gets tricky. Because clearly you can't, we're putting a little more in on the technology side of things. Controllers, camera tracking, controller tracking in the headset. There are, all these other quote unquote immersive features that are going in, sensory features they call them, that are going into the headset. So we're doing a little more on the technology sale. However, a lot of the VR components are a lot cheaper and easier to produce now, even though we're having trouble getting our hands on things because of outstanding other circumstances. The thing is that you can't go over the price of a PlayStation 5. So you're looking at
No, you can't.
Probably no more. So the PS5 discless version is $400. The disc version is $500. So you're looking at, I would hope for a $350.
Yeah.
But I think you're really looking at a range of anywhere from $350 to even up to $450. With all of that, because it's also a matter of you have to understand the base is not going to be that big, so you kind of do have to charge a little more. And then what each of these games costs individually, I think is interesting. I think it really depends on how much they put into the package.
Sorry, quick question, because I keep having it in my mind. Would the PS VR 2 be able to do everything the PSVR 1 would be able to do as well, like all the games, all the content?
Is it backwards compatible? I don't know.
That's the big question.
They don't say anything here
what the price would be
about it, but I think I saw a headline. I think I saw a will PSVR 2 be backwards compatible? It better be. No, okay, so this is the question going on right now. And a lot of that is really tricky because the technology for PSVR 2 is very different than what we had with the first version. And I think the controllers alone make that very, very complicated. All of those games are based on tracking through a camera. And I don't believe the PS4 camera is compatible with the 5. So, you're really stuck here. And then it's, what is the camera tracking? The PS3 Move controllers, there's no way those are compatible with the 5. The headset probably isn't compatible. So the amount of work it would require to make those games work on a PSVR 2 sounds like a daunting task to me. You're basically having to rebuild every game. Yeah. And personally, I think, the first iteration was a bit of an experiment with the exception of a couple of games. If it were me, man, I would kind of just, if I'm PlayStation, I would kind of just cut my losses and say, hey, listen, man, it's just too much work with the type of technology that we have now. But going forward, we're not going to make that mistake again, and that's why we've crafted this piece of technology this way. That's how I would market that response, message.
Even if they marketed it that way, and that would be the most transparent and acceptable thing to do, because
the problem is that you can't promise technology. You can't promise things going forward will be backwards compatible, because that technology, you don't know where that's going to be in 6, 7, 8 years.
Right. Well, you see, as someone who just got a PS5, I remember when I got a PS4, the big issue that I first had were there just wasn't anything to play on there. There was Warframe, I think some arcade type games, and Infamous Second Son. After that,
Infamous came a little later. Killzone Shadowfall was the launch game.
That came out with
Yeah, that was the launch game with the PlayStation 4. The Infamous was supposed to be, but it got delayed till early 2014.
Okay. Well, the problem still remains where I kind of just didn't use my PS4, and I was kind of curmudgeon-y about it, because I was like, there's no games on there. I'm still playing my Xbox 360. Versus with my PS5, obviously I didn't have that problem, because I instantly played, even without Demon's Souls, which I got on the day it came out, I would have had all my PS4 games just to load up onto the PS5 and play them. There's a whole catalog of games I can access with this new console. If it's not backwards compatible, this PSVR 2, it's going to be harder to sell it if you only have 2, 3, a handful of games to actually get your hands on when you first, spend however much money they're going to be asking for this.
I mean, it's also a thing of like, but like VR being a physical thing, like you can't spend crazy amount of hours in a headset like you can with your traditional console. So really, you're looking at, hey man, I'm going to spend 2 hours at a time. Okay, so how long are these big gaming experiences? How long is Horizon Call of the Mountain going to be? 8 hours, maybe 5. Just because we're still finding our feet with VR. We're still setting trends with VR. I mean, like, how many stories did you hear back in the day of like, oh man, like yeah, the walking or anything that like movement triggers motion sickness. Now it seems that we're the teleportation, like kind of like point to a spot and zip to it, seems to be kind of the way to go now. In terms of traversal in VR, but we're still figuring it out, and trying to get it to work the way it needs to work. So it is a lot of question marks. And in terms of a launch lineup, again, this is why I say you pause and you wait and you take your time, because you don't. PSVR 2 is not people are not like foaming at the mouths waiting for it. People are excited for it. People are interested in it. People do want to see where VR is going, because I think it's now set. It's not a dead piece of technology.
It proved that it has its place.
I think that's all it needed to do for this first generation. Now it's the second generation of, okay, is VR comparable to your usual consoles or your handheld devices or your PC gaming rigs in that way? And I think this is where we kind of start diving into things like that. We're still early in this. We're still very, like, it's very much like the transition from 2D to 3D, where we had to figure out how camera movement works. We had to figure out how moving around in a 3D space works, how level design works on a totally different type of plane. And it took a while to get there. PlayStation 1 3D games don't hold up that well anymore. Nintendo 64 games don't hold up that well anymore, with the exception of a few. It's not until you get into sort of that GameCube, PlayStation 2 era, original Xbox era, where traversal in a 3D space kind of starts to make sense. And I think that this is really where VR, hopefully in the coming years, will begin to shine. And again, that's why I said, you're curious about the launch lineup. How much am I going to use this piece of technology? Because it's not it's not a cheap piece of technology. No. I want to feel like I got my money's worth in the first 6 months to a year of using it. This is again why I say you come out strong. You bring in as many indies, you port over as much as you can, and you have yourself your PlayStation. You're known for your games. You come out with a lineup. You bring Horizon. That's a great starting point. You bring Moss 2. Which is people maybe heard about the first Moss, but they didn't get it because they didn't believe in the technology, or they just didn't want to pay for it, or they were like me and they were said, nah, I'll just wait for the next generation or something like that. So like if I were to get a PSVR 2, Moss 2 is one of the first things I'm going to get. Astrobot planted his flag in VR and is making his way to becoming a new PlayStation mascot, alongside the PS5 experience thing, where it was really just a tech demo or whatever. But that character is charming enough, to where he's really, he might eventually become a nice cartoon mascot alongside the Ratchet and Clanks, in that way. So now it's up to PlayStation to really say, okay, we've got a couple of titles in development already. I'm sure they have several more coming. I'll be damned if Insomniac isn't doing something in VR, because they already have a history with VR games in the past anyway. And now that they're PlayStation owned, come on now. Firesprite doing a bunch of support things and being that sort of that foundation studio to help all of these bigger studios transition into this field, I think is a great call. I think PlayStation has really been doing a lot of really smart business moves and smart acquisitions in the last couple of years, building out. They already have their big studios. They have their Naughty Dogs, their Santa Monicas, their Insomniacs, their Sucker Punches, Guerrilla, etc., etc. And lately, all of their acquisitions have been tech-based. They've been Fire Sprite, or they were I'm sorry, not Jade Mara. That's a fictional character. The lady from Google who came over, and it looks like they're doing a multiplayer front or something. Like it's seems to be in the last year or so since we've done this podcast or whatever, and every time we talk about PlayStation acquiring a new studio, it's something smaller. It's not been a huge acquisition with the exception of Insomniac. And I think they've been prepping for the future for technology so that they can branch out in these big ways, in smart ways, so that, you know, when it comes time to release a product, the product is of quality. Because as we'll get into this next topic, I think they care more. I think PlayStation is in a space where they care more about the reception of the game than the sales of a game right now. And I think their mindset is, if we put out the best, the money will come. And you kind of can't argue that in a lot of different ways, with how Spider-Man breaks records every time it's released. Horizon Zero Dawn broke records. Uncharted 4 broke records. God of War broke records. Like, every one of their things is huge, big, gigantic sellers. Last of Us Part 2 was one of the biggest games ever. And so I think all of that is really, really, really important to them. Not so much the fodder games, or not so much the let's turn a profit type of way, because they know the profit will come. All of that said, I'm expecting $400.
Did you say you were thinking about buying it? This might be your.
I would buy into a PSVR 2. I don't have the space for it, so like, unless that changes by the time the console comes out, then it'll be a no for me for now. But that's a me thing. That's not the technology is there for me. The incentive is there for me. I just don't have the capability of it. I don't feel like breaking my hand on my walls.
Yep. Tripping over things. Yeah.
There we go. Connor, that was my first penny. Let's go ahead and jump into my second penny and our second topic of the day here, which is a bit of a complicated one. So stay with us, ladies and gentlemen, because it's a story with layers. It's got multiple steps. A lot of things happened this week, and a lot of it is just kind of drama for drama's sake. And I'm here for it. So, this all starts with PlayStation announcing that Ghost of Tsushima has now sold officially 8 million copies. And I believe one of the very first episodes of this podcast, Ghost had just come out, and we were we had covered a story of it celebrating it had done 2.4 million globally in its first 3 days of sales, beating the record previously held by 2017's Horizon Zero Dawn, which took 2 weeks to do 2.6 million. So we covered it back in the day. Tsushima is a hit. It's got a movie coming up, or it's got a movie currently in production. We'll see how that works out. Obviously, Ghost of Tsushima is going to be a franchise thing for Sucker Punch now. They continue to support Ghost with the director's cut and their Legends mode, and even putting on a little more in Legends with the director's cut, so on and so forth. So Ghost is here to stay. It's a great game. Everybody should go play it. Congratulations to Sucker Punch for selling 8 million, because it's not an easy thing to do. Even with the PlayStation boost, like not every big play. I'd be surprised if Kena Bridge of Spirits sold 8 million copies.
You probably won't, but it'd be cool if it did.
It would be cool if it did. So all of that happened. And then like the same day or the day later, it was Jeff Ross, who was formerly of Bend Studio, which put out Days Gone and was the game director on that, hopped on Twitter to give his opinion. So I'm pulling an article from Game Informer by Wesley LeBlanc. And there's an update, but I'm going to read the original story first, and then we're going to go to the update. Days Gone has sold at least 9 million copies, according to its director. Yesterday, Game Informer reported that Sucker Punch Productions' 2020 samurai game, Ghost of Tsushima, has sold more than 8 million copies. Quite the feat, especially for a new IP from the developer. According to former Days Gone director Jeff Ross, the Pacific Northwest zombie game sold even more copies than Ghost of Tsushima, but instead of the warm reception Ghost received for its sales, PlayStation viewed it as a, quote, big disappointment. And then this is Jeff Ross's tweet. Quote, at the time I left Sony, Days Gone had been out for a year and a half and a month, and sold over 8 million copies. It's since gone on to sell more, and then a million plus on Steam. Local studio management always made us feel like this was a big disappointment. So first of all, we're going to pause there real quick. I don't think this is Jeff Ross specifically stepping on Ghost's moment here, because, I don't see what the point of that would be. I think it was more of like, hey man, like, we did numbers too, and yeah, we weren't received as greatly as Ghost was received, but like, players liked us. Like, people, there are Days Gone fans out there, and we did numbers. It continues. Back in April 2020, Ross alluded to the fact that Days Gone did not make enough money to greenlight the sequel Ben pitched to PlayStation, and he also shared some details on what Days Gone 2 would have been. Ross expressed his disappointment in the lack of further Days Gone development. There's probably something to be said of Ross's departure from the studio following the release of Days Gone, which he's now revealed was viewed by local management as a big disappointment. The former Bend director touched further on his initial tweet in the replies section, revealing that he's not sure if current Bend developers are unhappy with management. In a reply to someone asking if that's the case, Ross said, "In my case, there were years of issues to work through." He also revealed that the lack of official sales discussion from Sony and a possible sequel wasn't ever explained well, citing in a different tweet that despite that, former Sony Interactive Entertainment Worldwide Studios chairman Sean Layden, who left the company in 2019, was Days Gone and Ben's biggest advocate. Elsewhere in Ross's tweets, replies, Days Gone director revealed that developing Days Gone was not an easy task. Quote, development was a long slog, but we were a small team learning how to make our first open world game, and all things considered, it's amazing we finished it all. Ross also notes that just because Days Gone didn't review as well as Bend and perhaps Sony and PlayStation might have liked, the potential for a kick-ass sequel was there. He noted that the first Killzone got a 70 on Metacritic, but its sequel roared back with a 91. Bend was planning to raise eyebrows with a sequel much in the same way. He said, citing, "You gotta crawl before you can walk, and walk before you can run." So all of that is fascinating. And it's really, and I'm about to, there was an update posted the next day on this article, but I'm going to pause right there and I'm going to talk about what has all happened right here. Because there's a lot, I kind of feel like if you really remember the context of everything, we're kind of comparing apples and oranges here. Sucker Punch, off of the back of the Infamous series, doing 1, 2, Second Son, First Light, so 4 big superhero games. On top of their pedigree with Sly Cooper the generation before, comes to Sony and says, "Hey, cool, we did Infamous for you. We want to do a samurai game right now." And with the way production in video games works, it takes a very long time for anything to happen. You're talking years and years and years. What's hot in... So, Ghost comes out in 2020. It was announced in 2017, I think. 2016, 2017, something like that. Yeah, it took a while.
I check if you want.
And it was just an announcement, and then it was... it took a long time before we even got like raw gameplay for Ghost. It was a lot of trailers. So, if it's announced in 2017, you imagine, the pitch for it was happening shortly before that. So you're looking at 2014, 2015, somewhere around there. What's popping at the time?
It did, by the way, get announced in 2017. You're right.
Yeah.
October 30th.
Wow, that late into the year too. So what's hot in 2014? Walking Dead, Sons of Anarchy, superheroes. Okay, Insomniac just did a bunch of... Sucker Punch just did a bunch of superhero games. There's talks with Marvel Games into doing something, but Sucker Punch very clearly has a vision for what will eventually become Ghost of Tsushima. And Sony greenlights that. Says, okay, it's going to be a hard sell because, samurai, not the hottest thing right now. Ben Studios, on the other hand, comes in. They were a support studio, but they've got a couple of games under their belt through the PSP and PS Vita. but they've kind of been living in the shadow of bigger studios. Most notably Uncharted Golden Abyss, which released in Connor, fact check this for me, 2012? 2013? Something like that. And it,
2011.
2011. Okay. So 2011 was their last game before Days Gone. You're living in the shadow of Naughty Dog. They did a Killzone game on the Vita. You're living in the shadow of Guerrilla Games. You're living in the shadow of Insomniac. And all of these really big, huge studios. Even though and then they do have an original IP of their own on the PSP that was well received, but it's a PSP game. So like, did you really play it? So also I looked it up earlier. Bend Studios has like 130 employees. Sucker Punch has like 160. So you got
the money with that.
You got a big boost with this upgrade into the AAA space. And your pitch to Sony is, and you're looking, so Days Gone came out in was it 17 or 2018? It was 2018, right?
Oh, which game is that again? Sorry.
Days Gone.
Days Gone. I think it was 2019, I thought.
It might have been 2019 as well.
Yeah, 2019.
So then we're looking at that. So you're looking at, okay, Bend is pitching a studio, and it's a long slog. I remember hearing about, this game coming from Bend all the way back in 2015. So it must have been before it was officially announced. So it must have been a minute before they really got the PR ball rolling on this. So you're looking at, it makes sense. The pitch of Days Gone makes sense in the time that they would have been pitching it. You're looking at Sons of Anarchy being the biggest thing on television right next to The Walking Dead. So zombies are huge, and biker gangs are huge. That makes sense. Okay, so let's do a game of those two. And then 2013, Last of Us hits. Biggest game Sony's ever done. Puts Naughty Dog on a different... They were always big, but it puts them on an even more ridiculous echelon of game devs. And it pushes... And it solidifies PlayStation's state of, hey, you want the most premium gaming experiences? Bam, Last of Us, that's us. So zombies, all over the place. But then you put a couple more years on that, man, and zombies are all over the mainstream, and by the time 2016 rolls around and Days Gone gets announced, the popular culture is done. We're fed up. We're done. We're tired of it.
I remember the burnout. I remember that got announced, and people were like, "Oh, another zombie game." That
Immediately, people were like, "Ugh, we already have Last of Us. Why do we need this?" Mm-hmm. So it's Days Gone is already fighting an uphill battle from the jump. They're not used to doing open world. They're not used to having a AAA level game. They're not used to doing their own IPs. And even in their own new IP, they're feeding off of other ideas which the public consensus is already burnt out on. On paper, it all sounds like a good idea, which is why they got the opportunity to make this game. But when the time comes, the public is tired of you. And it's not your fault. I haven't played Days Gone, so I can't speak to the quality of the game. But people seem to like it. Critics didn't love it though, and PlayStation with coming off of The Last of Us, and then what they continued to do with Uncharted 4 and Horizon right before Days Gone, they care more about their portfolio being premium content. And so when the reviews come out and there are a bunch of 7s, that doesn't satisfy. So then your game comes out and the initial sales aren't as great as what they probably were hoping for. And I remember Days Gone hitting the bargain bin fast. Like, I want to say it released initially at $60, like everything did back in the day. I want to say it was $40 within 3 months. Through whatever store discount or used game things that were going on in your brick and mortar stores, or your PS Plus things. So yeah, okay, let's say his numbers are right, and okay, Days Gone did sell 8 million in the first year and a half, plus another million on Steam, which we are now encroaching on Ghost of Tsushima's 2nd anniversary now. Well, within the next couple of months. When did Ghost of Tsushima come out? No. It was later in the summertime. Yeah, so we're about a year and a half, maybe, and some change of Ghost of Tsushima. So your numbers are comparable. Why is Ghost getting a movie and getting a sequel and getting all this praise and all this PR, but Days Gone was made to feel like it was a failure? Well, quite simply, man, nobody bought your game at full price, and everybody bought it at Ghost. Everybody bought Ghost at full price.
Ghost had a lot of love for it right out the gate. Like, it instantly caught people's attention. We just talked a second ago about how Days Gone, it was met with the zombie game. Ghost of Tsushima, everyone said, like, man, it looks really, really good. And visually, it looks amazing. Gameplay, people were interested to see how the game itself would play. I know even you were curious if the game would play well, because the gameplay that they first showed us just showed him, Jin taking out enemies in quick slices. And you thought, well, is the combat system actually going to be fun and dynamic? You always had questions, and it kept giving. Yeah, it is. It kept giving you more and more information, and that information always had something. It always had a good selling point, and it left you with questions, and those questions would inevitably be answered, and in a proper way, as you just mentioned. You did like the gameplay. And that fear of it maybe not being good was resolved when the game came out, because the gameplay is fantastic.
But let's even take that argument another step forward. There is no game that plays like Ghost of Tsushima that I can think of off the top of my head. There are systems and mechanics that you have seen before, but Ghost does it differently. There are experiences and gameplay mechanics and combat encounters and just overall game experiences that you can only get from Ghost of Tsushima. That's why Sucker Punch is so elite, because they consistently do their own thing all the time. That's why Infamous was successful. That's why Sly Cooper is still looked upon with rose-colored glasses by those of us who have played or who played Sly Cooper back in the day. Like, there's that. Bend doesn't have that pedigree. And even when you look at Days Gone, a lot of the conversation, again, I don't know because I didn't play the game, but a lot of the conversation was, you've seen this before, and you've seen it done better.
Yeah. I mean, like, think of any other samurai, like the samurai game genre isn't saturated. I can't really, off the top of my head, think of, like, the first thing that comes into my head is playing the samurai class in For Honor, because that felt really good to me. But Ghost of Tsushima, it was doing something new. You can
even broaden that with just sword combat. How many games have sword combat? You're looking at Dark Souls, you're looking at Assassin's Creed, and Star Wars games?
Oh god, yeah, you're right. Even then, it's more deflecting bullets also than just fighting with lightsabers. It really is not something that you see that much when you think about it. You're right.
But third-person action adventure, open world shooter with zombies. What game did I just describe? I just described 1,000 of them. And again, I'm not shitting on Days Gone here. I'm sure it's a quality game, and people do like it, and it did sell copies. But my thing is what did it sell? Did it sell at its asking price of $60, or did it sell at $40? Did it sell at $15? Did it sell at $10? Did it sell in a brick and mortar store for a used copy for $10, where Sony didn't make any money off of that? And I want to return here to this Game Informer article with their update. Yesterday, Game Informer reported that Days Gone director Jeff Ross' latest game, Ghost of Tsushima, received $8 million. Where am I? I'm sorry. Recently hit a milestone selling $8 million. However, in a recent live stream with former God of War and Twisted Metal director David Jaffe, Ross revealed that his source for sales numbers was a now defunct website called GameStat, which tracks PlayStation trophy data as reported by Push Square. Here's what Ross said. Quote, "Where I got my data from, I had access to a lot of telemetry, and I could see stuff and where we were at 5 million copies. And when we were announced at 5 million copies, the telemetry data was at 5.8 million. There were basically resales or shared discs. I was actually using an external website. I think they're offline now, but they were using trophy data, and it lined up with our internal telemetry data. So for me, it's like good enough." Ross then said that when leaving Sony, you don't necessarily get final numbers for a game's sales. Ross also said, as a creative director, he didn't have access to the complete and official Sony numbers. Quote, I think GameStat still has that data archived. Based off the 8 million mark, it matched our telemetry, and so I'm like, good enough. So maybe it was 7.7 million-ish. Maybe it was 8.2 million-ish. I don't know. Bro, come on now. Following the stream, Ross tweeted today that he stands by the Days Gone sales numbers he revealed earlier this week, and that in using GameStat to cross-reference the telemetry he referred to above, each set of data verified the other. During Jaffe's live stream, Ross also said the telemetry he's referring to was seen by him before Days Gone was released as a PlayStation Plus title in 2021. What's interesting about this is that trophy data does not necessarily translate directly to sales. That's because players that have purchased used copies of Days Gone or have played it as a PlayStation Plus title, neither of which would be tracked as new sales, can earn trophies. What's interesting about this is that trophy data does not necessarily translate directly to sales. That's because players that have purchased used copies can earn trophies. Okay, yeah. So if you bought it used, or if you borrowed it from a friend, or if you just put the disc in your fucking thing, you earn and popped the first trophy. That counts. That counts in Ross's data here. The players that earn trophies from used copies of Days Gone would be lumped into the players that purchased a new copy of Days Gone, thus skewing the total numbers Ross cited as copies sold. So while Days Gone likely did sell millions, the 8 million copies plus a million on Steam is likely not completely accurate. Ross also clarified that when he said Days Gone was a disappointment to local studio management, he was referring to upper management within Bend and not necessarily PlayStation or Sony management.
So I want to defend Ross real quick.
Go ahead.
Just overall, I think he was wrong to try and just go out and say, oh, well, we sold that many copies. Clearly, that could make up the difference in copies that were actually sold. But, on the grander scale, I can understand his resentment towards this kind of stuff, because executives at any company can be really asshole-ish and critique things in an unnecessary way. Because Days Gone made money, correct? I don't think it, cost them a bunch of money that they never earned back, to my knowledge.
I would assume over time at this point, Days Gone has earned money, yes.
Yeah, so I can understand them just, even despite it making money, not making more money than they wanted it to, and just shitting on the company and the delivery of the game in light of that. But even with that being said, and understanding his upsetness at all this, you shouldn't just try to go towards sources like these to try and prove if your game did a certain amount of numbers. You obviously don't have access to that information, and he definitely jumped the gun in just trying to, defend his title. Understandable, but he clearly was in the wrong in this. So,
and here's my thing. If we just look at the math here, so when they knew they had 5 million copies under their belt, not a small number.
No.
And then the data that he was pulling, which is inaccurate, is at 5.8. So 0.8 million. And then you want to add another 3, just increase that to... So, what did you really sell? 6? 7? It's hard to tell. And then how much of that was... My thing is sure, you were passionate about your game. You were proud of your game. More power to you. And just the fact that you were able to step up and your studio was able to create a AAA game on such a scale is to be commended. I just fall short at where it's to me, it feels like you felt entitled to a sequel. And while maybe it's some make or break things with how the culture is over at Sony Studios, especially with how Days Gone has always been treated like the little brother. We've covered it before when all the Last of Us remake rumors were going around that Bend Studio was supposed to be in charge of that. And it's clear Bend would much rather be their own thing instead of just being the Naughty Dog secondary studio. And I believe, if I remember right, there were even quotes of them being considered as Naughty Dog South or whatever cardinal direction they are from Naughty Dog specifically. I don't remember.
Probably North, because they're based out of Bend, Oregon.
Or maybe it was East-West, because they're Oregon, but Naughty Dog is based in Cali, I believe.
Los Angeles.
Yeah. So then it's I think Ross is coming from someone who knows the politics of the studios and the studio management. And so it frustrates him when he sees that his game did sell, at least numbers-wise, a bunch of people played his game, but he couldn't get a sequel out, and meanwhile, everybody else is getting whatever they want for the same quote-unquote numbers. The problem is that your numbers aren't 100% accurate, so you're already on a soft footing, and your game didn't sell out the gate, dude. The review and the reviews were lower than expected. So when it does come time for a sequel, what does everybody say? Oh, right, that's that zombie game that nobody cared about. How do you get past that? You thought Zombie Burnout was tough in 2016 when you're announced, bro. If you're not Last of Us, I'm not touching your zombie game. Like, I installed Back 4 Blood, which doesn't use zombies, but is that same mentality. I installed Back 4 Blood for free on Game Pass, but then I never even loaded the game up because I don't care. Dying Light 2 is coming out this month, and I could not tell you how much I don't care about Dying Light 2. You know, I don't care if it has 500 hours of gameplay in it or not. I don't care because it's zombies, man. I'm done. I don't need any more of that. And even then, I'm not going to Last of Us for its zombie twist. I'm going for its characters and its storytelling and its emotional impact. Days Gone is a meme, bro. What is that line about, hey, promise to ride me like you ride your bike or whatever the fuck? You're a meme. You're a joke. Like, there's... When it comes to gamers like me, it's a hard sell. And even in that, like, at least his numbers are based prior to it going free as a PlayStation Plus game, and then even now it's free with the PlayStation Plus collection on PlayStation 5. So, any actual sales of Days Gone, not happening. From this point forward. So now you have to sit there and go, fuck, man, you have to do a used game sale from a brick and mortar where Sony doesn't get any of that money. If they are selling, if someone is buying it off the PlayStation Store, it's probably at a discounted price or a lower price than when it launched. And then you keep going down that line of the fact that, listen, man, sure, you sold just as much as Ghost of Tsushima. Let's even give you that. But you didn't make the money that Ghost of Tsushima made. Ghost sold at 60 and sold 2.4 in 3 days. Do the math. And it's still full price, $60. You might get a discount. You might get a discount with PlayStation Plus on a sale and knock it down to 45. But it's, for the most part, still 60. What is your game at? What was your game at 3 months after release? You understand, like, where I'm going with this? Like, you're kind of, there's a lot of context here that you're throwing out in blind comparison of 8 mil, they got a sequel, we didn't.
Yeah, I mean, critical reception, as they mentioned in the previous article on Ghost of Tsushima sales, I mean, no, of this piece, sorry. They did mention critical reception matters. Critical reception was amazing for Ghost of Tsushima at the gate. It is still considered one of the best games of that year. If Last of Us didn't come out that year, it might have even won Game of the Year.
Absolutely.
It was in a different league than Days Gone. So, sorry, but it was never going to be up to snuff to compare it to.
And I'm not. Let me make this clear. You don't have to be a Ghost of Tsushima. You don't have to be a Last of Us Part 2. You don't have to be a God of War.
Thing to set people up.
You can't have that every time. But my thing is that you're comparing yourself to those people. You're putting yourself in that echelon. And dude, you're you gave yourself a losing battle from the jump.
Yeah. Unfortunate, but this is how it's going to go. Sometimes you're just not going to be the big game that comes out that year, and you never will be. That's fine.
That's fine.
Some of the best games that come out every single year can be that way.
Let me even take this a step further. When that Last of Us remake eventually gets announced, I will be so severely disappointed if Ben Studios is attached to that title. Not because I don't think that they could make a great Last of Us remake. In fact, I'm certain they could. It's just that I would rather see Bend continue to grow and become a studio of its own name and own caliber, like all these other studios that they want to be compared to. the thing is I want Ben to become Ben. I don't want them to become Naughty Dog West or Naughty Dog East or whatever the fuck the joke name that was being thrown around. I want them to come out from the shadows of all of these other big studios and become one themselves. It's just a matter of like, dude, you didn't knock it out of the park the first time, but that's fine. But you have fans, you have a base, people know your name now, and people like you. That can't be said before Days Gone. People didn't know you before Days Gone. Now they do. Or people who are paying attention, at least.
So you're a Golden Abyss player, so of course you know.
Yeah, it was Golden Abyss, and it was, I liked that one, and then, they had a pedigree of other handheld titles prior to that. So I was like, okay, I know who Ben's studio is. Let's see what Days Gone does. And I would argue it did exactly what it needed to do. But you were betting on Days Gone being a franchise, and you should have just bet it as a proving ground to what your studio was capable of.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, I think
in the future, Ben Studios will make some great games. And
dude,
has.
they've got my eyes. I'm ready for it. And I keep telling myself, I've said it multiple times on this podcast, I should give Days Gone a chance. It's just
I didn't know you were that interested in it.
I like video games. I like the idea of riding around on a motorbike. That sounds fun to me. The zombie stuff, okay, fine, whatever. But yeah, give me an open world where I'm on a motorbike and I got to upkeep and perform maintenance on that motorbike, and then have some shooting mechanics and stuff, and I'm shooting shit. Okay, cool, that sounds fun.
Yeah.
The thing is that you should have been fun. You shouldn't have been The Last of Us, and you were trying to be The Last of Us, or at least you wanted your game to be The Last of Us when that wasn't what your game was.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways, I think we've exhausted the conversation on that one.
Yeah.
Moving on. Topic number 3. Connor, your first penny of the day. Eurogamer just posted a article by Vicky Blake. Details of an unannounced Fromsoftware Armored Core game have reportedly popped up online. Details of a new and hitherto unannounced game installment from Fromsoftware's Armored Core have reportedly popped up online. According to Reset Era's Red Licorice, earlier today they received a consumer survey directly from the developer, which offered plot details, 8 screenshots, and even 2 videos about the unannounced sequel. Quote, I've just finished doing a consumer survey about a new Armored Core game with description screenshots and 2 30-second-ish videos of gameplay. The first, a boss fight, and the second, more in-world gameplay, a snow area. They wrote, holding back from sharing the screenshots as they are unique ID watermarked. According to the screenshots detailing the game's key features, it's described as, quote, the sci-fi world created by Hidetaka Miyazaki? Hidetaka, is that
Miyazaki.
Right?
I can't pronounce the first name, honestly.
Okay. And a third-person shooter mecha action title that lets you move around an overwhelmingly scaled map that represents a unique sci-fi world with dynamic mech action. The boss fight looked quite soulsy. The long-range gunfire reminded me of Virtua On. That's my frame of reference. I'm not a mech fan and haven't played any AC games. AC being Armored Core. Red Licorice added in a follow-up post, quote, the player character in a white mech went in close to the bigger robot and fought with like an energy or laser sword. This looked Souls-like. The field gameplay, the player in the same white mech seemed to be following a couple of other players in the distance, co-op, ? And they were walking, flying close to the ground maybe, through a snowy area towards either a large wall or gate. This seemed Soulsy too, the vastness of the architecture, but it wasn't a castle, more like a worn-down metal/stone wall or gate. It was quite short. Interestingly, it seems like there is no confirmed title just yet, as participants of the survey were invited to help choose one. Quote, most of them were Armored Core something, including just Armored Core, and both AC6, AC6 with Roman numerals, and other subtitles I can't remember. Some of the choices didn't include AC in the name at all. As for FromSoftware's other highly anticipated title, Elden Ring is currently due for release PlayStation, Xbox, PC on the 25th of February. So one, this is interesting because FromSoftware comes from Armored Core, so this is their thing that they used to do before they did Souls games. It's been a long time, and the mecha genre is pretty unpopulated right now. So, a mech-based Souls-like game from Fromsoftware sounds exciting. My thing.
So, as the resident,
Go ahead.
As the Fromsoftware fan, I would like to see something akin to this, if it is true, because as much as I love the Souls series, Elden Ring's coming out. It's doing a lot of new systems that we haven't seen in past Souls games. But beyond this, I've been racking my brain thinking of what they're going to do after that. Because if they do another Elden Ring style type gameplay, that might not go over super well with me personally. Because I would like to see them step into some new kind of territory. I wouldn't complain about Bloodborne 2. Definitely not that. I'd be very happy for that. But I was very satisfied to hear that they're going in a different direction than they have been these past couple of years. Now, myself, I'm not that big of a mech fan. I was never into Gundam, even with how much I watch anime. It just wasn't my cup of tea. But it would seem like this would be a game I'd be up to playing solely because I'm a Fromsoftware shill and I'd be required to play this. So I was happy when I first heard this.
Yeah,
I want them to do more than just Souls games.
Yeah,
going into the future.
My thing is just how much can we actually put any stock into this? It's just leaks and rumors and so forth of screenshots that we can't see. So, it wouldn't surprise me if they were like, yeah, we're trying to figure out what we can do with Armored Core. We put together a demo. We had a couple of screenshots and we rendered a couple of things. That kind of makes sense to me. But with the success of Bloodborne, with the success of Dark Souls, and what it looks like Elden Ring is going to do numbers wise, to me it would make more sense to pull a sequel from one of those. But I do agree with you. It would be nice to see Fromsoftware dip into something new entirely. You look at Elden Ring, it looks like a Dark Souls game but bigger. You look at Bloodborne, okay, it kind of looks like a Dark Souls game, but you dodge instead of shield. Okay.
There's also less RPG elements, more action adventure.
Yeah. And then you look at Sekiro and you're like, all right, this looks like Dark Souls, but just not as deep as Dark Souls. They all kind of look the same. I think stylistically, Sekiro is the most unique looking of the games they've produced so far. So them taking a dramatic step and saying, hey man, it's not like just swords and stuff anymore. Like we're doing mechs, we're doing technology, we got sci-fi, we got some kind of steampunk thing going on. Okay, that perks up my ears just in terms of visual flavor. But again, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe not. Who knows? We've been rumored a Bloodborne 2 for 6 years, so who knows?
Well, less rumored and more desired, and people really just praying that it comes out. Which, like I said, I'd be interested to see that come out, but I can understand Fromsoftware deciding, okay, we want to make other games that besides just the next Soulsborne game. And
so this article has a trailer. This article has a trailer playing for Elden Ring. I've stayed away from most of the Elden Ring PR stuff just because it's like Fromsoftware games usually not my cup of tea. This game looks fun.
Yeah, it looks very fun.
It's fun.
Very open world, running around. There's some stealth in the game. I'm really excited for it. Stealth is random boss encounters as well in the open world, which I think is exactly what they needed to put in there. I'm really excited for this.
I feel like that's something Sekiro doesn't get enough credit for, is how good the stealth mechanics were in that game.
They were good.
They were good.
Through a whole entire thing.
I felt powerful being stealthy.
Sometimes I would do. You come down, you stab people in the necks really furiously.
Yeah.
Felt good.
It's good.
And you can take entire crews of enemies without even being spotted, which hadn't been done before.
Yeah.
And clearly they're using that as a big inspiration for Elden Ring, especially the way he even crouches. It looks the same. Like they're using that same kind of. This
is the accumulation of all of their skills that they've been building over the years. I think it's a lot of like, let's wait and see what Elden Ring does, and then we'll get something probably shortly after that. But I would like to see some energy swords instead of just regular swords. That sounds fun.
Yeah,
why
cool.
not? Connor, moving on. Final topic of the day, your second penny. Mario Kart 9 is reportedly in development with a new twist. Ooh. So, we're pulling a GameSpot article by Gabe Gerwin. Mario Kart 8 and its upgraded Mario Kart 8 Deluxe have been huge successes for Nintendo, but it appears a successor is finally speeding toward the development finish line, according to a game industry consultant. Mario Kart 9 is in the works and will include a new twist, as if we expected anything less from Nintendo. Speaking to GamesIndustry.biz, Kenton Games consultant Dr. Sirkin Toto gave several predictions for 2022. Excuse me. But one of them was more of an inside scoop than a prediction. Toto said Mario Kart 9 is in development now, and noted that Mario Kart as a brand has been relatively quiet since the mobile-only Mario Kart Tour launched a few years ago. Quote, I am aware that Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is still selling very well on Nintendo Switch, but Mario Kart 9 is in active development and comes with a new twist, and Nintendo could tease it this year, he said. With the Nintendo Switch already approaching its 5-year anniversary, would this game appear on the Nintendo Switch, or would it come to whatever system is planned next? That remains to be seen, as the blah, 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 blah. Unlike company to have more than one... Oh, it is unlike the company to have more than one Mario Kart game on a system. That has never happened before with the SNES, GBA, N64, GameCube, DS, Wii U, 3DS, and Switch all only receiving one game, unless you count the physical Kart spin-off Mario Kart Live. However, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which has sold nearly 39 million units, was an upgraded version of the Wii U version, so it's possible Nintendo will make an exception. As for the twist, well, we can only guess at what Nintendo could be cooking up. Previous games have included dual passenger vehicles, gliding, and anti-gravity. If we do hear more on the game, it'll possibly be around the E3, if that even happens this year. Oh man, we could have talked about the E3 this year. I totally forgot about that too. Whatever. Spoilers, E3 is going back to a digital-only event. Shocks. Yeah. And who knows if
completely forgot to send that too.
Yeah, I don't really care about E3. So there's a bit of food for thought here. Let's talk about first, Connor. How excited would you be for Mario Kart 9?
I obviously wasn't I didn't hate the last Mario Kart, but I never bought it. I never felt the need to buy it. That's kind of my stance on Mario Kart games anyway, because I can't get behind the incentive some people have to play that game on their own without friends, having it in a party situation, which is fun, but I don't know how often this game would be broken out for me to actually use it. Mario Kart's gotten to a point where, when I play it, it's fun, but when I want to spend the money to buy it, I don't know. It'd definitely be a better party game than the recent Nickelodeon All-Stars, which I thought would be taking that position, but clearly it did not. Damn it, I didn't put that on my list this year. Wasn't that?
No, yeah, I thought it was going to be mine too, and it didn't.
Yeah, but either way, I wouldn't probably be up to buying it, but I am happy that Mario Kart fans would have something new to play with, because the new twist really could be anything. I don't even know if it'll be anything substantial. It could be something just extremely simple that only slightly changes gameplay and maybe for certain people makes or breaks some race, whether they're in first or second place. I don't know. Don't know if it's going to have some kind of comeback system or simply just a traversal mechanic. I don't really know what they could really do to revolutionize it in such a way that would really blow people's minds. So I don't think we're really going to expect anything like that. But
the first thing that pops into my head when you say, because first of all, the Nintendo Switch has not gotten a Mario Kart game, despite what this article says. We got a port of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, that was Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. So we've not had a Mario Kart game on the Switch. It just so happens that Mario Kart 8 is more associated with the Switch than it was on its home console of the Wii U, because the Wii U was the Wii U. And it's selling 39 million on the Switch is an impressive number. And I can understand Nintendo being like, all right, well, let's just let Mario Kart 8 do all the work it needs to do, because people still buy that game are still buying that game in droves. It's the Switch's biggest game. But from the moment it released, I was like, okay, this is cool, but when are we getting the next one? And then the answer to that question was not for a very long time, if ever. And then we got the Mario Kart Tour, which wasn't what I wanted it to be at all. And other than that, Mario Kart's been quiet. No new expansions for 8 Deluxe, no new characters for 8 Deluxe, no new karts, tracks, nothing. It came out, and that's what it was. I love Mario Kart, and every time there's a new Mario Kart game, I love diving in, learning the tracks, competing in the different grand tours and stuff, and all of that, and trying to get gold in all of them and so forth, and testing my own skills against that. For me, a new twist. You say Mario Kart on the Switch. I think you bring back the excuse me, I'm trying to fight a sneeze right now.
I've been having a lot of those recently.
There it goes. You bring back the double dash mechanic of having two people in one cart, but it's the Switch. So you got the two controllers that split and that come apart and stuff. So you allow those carts to come apart, and then now you got two racers instead of one.
Ooh, that sounds like a good idea.
And even then,
this is coming from the mouth of a guy who loves Double Dash more than any other Mario Kart. So
I'm saying,
like that.
And then even then, and this is just me just flying off the cuff with an idea that just spawned in my head. Let's say you split apart and you're two racers in one. Maybe you're a little faster split apart, but you're less powerful. You get fucked up quicker. You get you get bumped around more, or when you get hit with a shell, it takes longer for you to recover or something. But you put them together. Maybe you're a little slower, but now you can have two items instead of one item, and now you can strategize together. And one player has control of the items, and maybe we can be more dynamic in our ability to aim items or something. You just kind of have a back and forth with that kind of stuff. Oh, that would be really interesting. Let's say if you're split apart, player A crosses the finish line before player B, and then competitor, like say, Connor, let's say it's you and me. We split apart right at the end.
Mm-hmm.
I get hit, I fall back, and then you cross the finish line in first, second, third, and then I cross in fourth. So normally, what it's 10 points for crossing in first or something like that. Let's say because we were split and I was further down the line, instead of the full 10, we only get 8. Now you're adding a bit of strategy into that to where it's like, fuck, a blue shell's coming. Okay, Tavin, you split off, you take the hit, I'll come in and I'll maximize our points. So instead of only getting 7 points in third place, we got 8 points with first and fourth place. You understand? Mm-hmm. Kind of, and just kind of like,
no longer just first one wins all the time. Who always gets like the first place?
You'll get more, but if you're constant, if all 4 races are split like that, the more consistent second place guy would pull ahead and win. And just kind of doing number crunching that way, and that would kind of add some more. I think that would add some more excitement to the tours in general. Not to mention what that would do for battle modes. You can play up to 8 players on the Switch. That's insane. So now, imagine 8 carts, little tiny carts flying around, and then you have a partner, and you get together with your partner, and you're more powerful or something. All of that kind of stuff would be really fun and really exciting to do. I don't know how you do it, but it would be cool. That's all I got to say on that.
I mean, that is a good idea. I mean, as far as just taking the idea of there being a twist, that'd be a pretty game-changing one. I don't know if that would be one that would be welcomed by everybody.
No, yeah.
I'm sorry. Did I hear you say that was a game mode, or that's just in the races all the time, or just not?
I think that would be your default. And then you would have a secondary thing where it's like classic mode, and then it's just your regular stuff.
I feel like the purists would come out though at that point and say like, oh well, that shouldn't be the main.
Are there Mario Kart purists like there are with Smash Brothers? Like Mario Kart, Mario Kart is built on it's like Mario Party, where it's built on the basis of there's some bullshit in this. Like, don't take it that seriously. The reason that Smash, like, there's like elitists with Smash, because is if you turn the items off, you turn the stage things off, you turn all the fun things off, you have an all right fighting game there. You know what I'm saying?
That is true. Though items are not fun.
Whereas, if you turn the items off in Mario Kart, now you've just got a boring racing game. Like, not even a good racing game, a boring one.
I might be disconnected from what the Mario Kart players all collectively desire. But changing it from a race where you have to rely on yourself to having somebody else would be a pretty substantial change for the main way, like the baseline game, if that's how they want you to play the game.
Right. And I think it's also like, if you play solo, how does that work?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, it's gonna punish everyone that doesn't have friends.
Yeah, more or less. Like, can you still do that split apart mechanic or not, or how does that, So that's a tricky idea, but it was just an idea that popped into my head. So, but that's about it.
It's not a bad idea.
Do you think it's possible we see Mario Kart 9 teased this year?
It hasn't come out since 2014, but as they mentioned, they probably didn't get their ass in gear because of how much it was selling. So
that was the original game. The Mario Kart 8 came out in 2017.
Yeah, but I doubt they would have really put a lot of effort into trying to make a Mario Kart game since then, because that version of the game just had been selling money. But Mario Kart doesn't seem like all that difficult of a game to make. They'd probably use the same engine. It could conceivably come out later this year.
Oh, I don't think it's coming out this year at all. I was just asking for a tease.
I could see like there being a... No, I know, but I could see them having they had this in the lab longer than we thought they did, just coming out with it. But
Mario Kart's a big title. You want to build hype for that.
That is true. Well, I guess that especially that factor being put into consideration. Realistically, not even. I don't think it would come out at the beginning or end of any year, like 2023. I could see it coming out maybe in the summer of that year.
Yeah.
Especially, I could line up with trying to market it towards the child audiences. You get together with your friends a lot more because school's no longer in session, and play some Mario Kart, because that's clearly the demographic Mario Kart goes for.
For sure.
Even though it obviously goes beyond that. If you go on streamers playing that game, they're pretty competitive with it, and a lot of people.
But it's a party game. It's meant to be played multiplayer.
So that'd be their obvious main goal for that game. So I could see 2023 summer. Spring, maybe even.
Maybe. I could see the potential of getting a tease or getting an announcement this year. That does make sense to me. It is January 9th at the time of recording. We've got a lot of year left. So it's hard to say what's going to happen. In terms of like when we'll see it, summer of next year, maybe. I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't hit till like March of 23. Or I'm sorry, of 24. I got 24. Still resetting my brain. Yeah, so I could see it like early spring of 24 or something like that. If it's even close to being happening, or if this is still just hella early, it just all depends. But yeah, that's that. So, ladies and gentlemen, we like to wrap up our show with a little segment we call What We've Been Playing. This week, Connor, I'm gonna go first. I'm gonna talk about what I've been playing first, because I, on twitch.tv/2pennygames, played the entirety of the Forgotten City on stream. I even went through and I got all the alternate endings in it as well. And I've seen it all. I've played it all. Forgotten City, pretty solid. It's pretty solid. If you don't know, it's a time loop game. Kind of more of like a puzzle game, but it does have some action elements in it, which surprised me. I wasn't expecting that. In which you wake up on a riverbank. There's this lady who pulls you from the river and says, "Hey, man, I just pulled you from the river. You were unconscious. I was just trying to see what was up. I pulled another guy a few minutes ago. He went to that temple there to explore, and he hasn't come back." And you go, "Oh, well, I guess I'll go look for him." You go look for him, and you fall into a portal, and then you end up in an ancient Roman city that has been forgotten in time, the Forgotten City. And in that, you immediately discover there's a bunch of politics and things happening. And the general premise is you cannot commit a sin in this city. If you commit a sin, all of these, and there's a bunch of golden statues all throughout the city. If you commit a sin, some of these statues will come alive, draw bows and arrows, and start shooting people. And if they shoot and hit you, they turn you into a golden statue. So you're looking around at this city at all the different... And if anybody commits a sin, everybody gets killed. it's like a sins of the one affect everybody type thing. I forget what the actual sentence is that they keep repeating again and again throughout the game. And the idea is like, if a sin is committed, if statues come out and everybody starts shooting and dying, there's one character who can run to this temple, says a prayer, sacrifices himself, and then a portal opens up. You run through the portal, and it resets your time loop back to the beginning. Yeah, so it's like a thing of like, okay, I got to figure out this puzzle element. I got to talk to all these people. I got to do it within a certain amount of time because somebody is going to commit a sin that day. You just don't know who or what sin they're going to commit, and you don't even know what counts as a sin or not. Things that you would expect to be sinful turns out maybe they're not, or things that are you wouldn't think would be, maybe they are. It just kind of depends.
This all seems like a faulty system.
Funny. You know what, Connor? That might be something that the game explores thematically. And I'll say the best part about this game is its writing. It's very clever with its writing. Lots of dialogue choices, lots of different ideas and thought processes to go down. Lots of moments where you need to talk a character off the ledge from doing something, and you need to be like, hey man, don't do this for XYZ reasons, and if you fuck up, oh boy, you fuck up. Because, someone will get in their emotions and make a choice, and then everybody has to suffer from that. And then there's even nobody in the city knows if it's real or not. So there's even a conversation of happening of like, this is fake. You're using this to impose your tyrannical rule over us or whatever, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's and the deeper the rabbit hole goes, the crazier it gets. And there's a lot in the Forgotten City that I wasn't expecting, and I don't want to give away. So I've kind of just described the general premise, and sort of where to go from there. But yeah, Forgotten City, definitely worth your time. I was turned on to it because it was getting like Game of the Year talks, and so I'm still seeing people be like, man, the Forgotten City was the best game of last year. I'm not going that far. I played in our top 10 episode. I had hypothesized that Forgotten City might have made my top 10. I don't think it does. But what was there was delicious. It was a delicious meal. Just not the most exquisite fine dining meal that I've ever had. It had a lot of issues for me personally. I played it on PC through Game Pass. It ran like shit. Frame rate drops all the time. Pop in all the time. Glitches galore. And yeah, the deeper into the game I got, the better it got. It was really tough in the beginning, but like as soon as I got a couple of hours in, it shaped up. And loading screens are so long, and it's clear that like whenever you exit the main hub area where you spend 80% of your time, that's when the game starts to falter more, which is unfortunate. But overall, it was really solid, and it came out, I want to say like just before 12 minutes came out, and somehow this game with less funding behind it, less press behind it, less and I would assume a smaller dev team behind it with a shorter amount of time to make their game. Yeah, man, it felt a lot. It was put together a lot better than 12 minutes was put together. I'll say that. Like,
yeah,
the shortcomings of 12 minutes are not in the Forgotten City. Forgotten City has its own shortcomings, but the ones that turned me off from 12 minutes being the general story of 12 minutes, some of the writing fallacies of 12 minutes, and just sort of the sort of like going through the motions of 12 minutes through every loop doesn't exist in the Forgotten City. They have a mechanic built into the Forgotten City where it's like, hey, every time I start a loop over, I need to talk to X, Y, and Z person. But if I've already done that, I can tell the game to go do that. And then it does it for you. So you're not repeating as many conversations as you would be, especially because there is a time limit on this game. Granted, that time limit is a lot longer than the 12 minutes time limit. But, with 12 minutes, it was really annoying having to set the table for dinner for my wife every goddamn time I looped through the goddamn game. Whereas this one, it was like, okay, yeah, there's somebody sick. Go cure somebody who's sick because I already did it. So all of that built in was very, very, very nice. So yeah, Forgotten City, definitely recommend it. Good, like it's like a good like it's like a single thumbs up.
Good.
Like a not a two thumbs up, but a single thumbs up. Worth your time. Everybody should go play it if you have the time.
From a mod too.
Huh?
It's from a mod. I'm seeing it came from a Skyrim mod.
Yeah, that was the initial
Yeah.
like sort of foundation of it, and then they broke it off and made it its own game. So yeah, definitely worth your time. Not a super long game. It took, I think, let me look, because I have the entire Twitch archive up at youtube.com/2pennygamescast.
Online it said 13 to 15 hours. I don't know if that was your
It did not take me 13 to 15 hours.
Yeah.
My whole playthrough, which I played pretty much from the beginning with the exception of like the first couple of minutes, the video is 7 hours and 50 minutes long. That includes sort of like me talking at the end about my feelings about the game. That includes me, like, because I hit my first ending, I hit about 4.5, 5 hours in, and it was clearly not like the quote unquote true ending. So I was like, you know what, I've still got time. Let me keep going. And I went and I got the true ending and stuff. And there was like a moment where it was like clearly it's like, okay, do you want the worst ending right now? And I was like, sure, let me play that out. And then I was like, okay, yeah, that's the worst ending. And then I played out the true ending, and I was like, this is a good ending. It's good stuff. So yeah, definitely full on recommendation of the Forgotten City. Easy. Like I did it 750. You can clearly do it in even less time if you don't choose, one of the lesser endings. And for the most part, the game telegraphs pretty well that, this is what that ending is. But who knows? Maybe I'm just too smart for these motherfuckers, Connor. I'm just too clever. I put the pieces together too. Anyways.
Correct.
That is the most of what I've been doing. Other than that, I have returned to Returnal, Connor.
Return to Returnal.
My game of the year last year, and it's just this everlasting gobstopper of a game that I keep coming back to and I keep loving more and more every time I play it. I finally finished Act 2, and then quickly discovered there was an Act 3, which
I saw your realization of that through the chat.
Yeah, to be fair, Act 3 seems to be a lot like you don't have to go do that. Act 2 ends and the credits roll, which didn't happen at the end of Act 1. So clearly it's like, this is a point where it's like, okay, if you want to stop, you can stop here. I'm going to keep going. Because I love Returnal. I love the way it plays. I do want to platinum Returnal, but there's a lot of RNG required for that. So, Returnal might just be a game that just sits on my PlayStation forever, and I'll, load up, do a couple of runs, and then turn back off and come back in, several more months or whatever. But it's, it's what else can I say about Returnal, man? It's fucking great.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a great fucking game. I'll say its story was very confusing to me, but that's because I kept picking up and putting it down over the course of an entire year, and it's already a non-linear story, like in the terms of when it delivers information. So, like, I got to the quote-unquote final cutscene, and I was like, okay, I kind of understand what's happening, but I also kind of don't understand what's happening. So, there's that to be said. But, yeah, Returnal continue. Connor, you got to play Returnal, buddy. You have to play
I'll try and get around to it. I'll see.
Get around to it, man. But let's see what you've had time to get around to, my friend. What have you been playing this last week?
Yes, I finished Guardians of the Galaxy.
Lovely.
Before I wanted to... I would go on to start my playthrough of Final Fantasy VII Remake, my second playthrough, but I wanted to beat Guardians of the Galaxy first. I put it at number 7, I believe, my favorite game of the year, on my game of the year list. The biggest detracting factor from it was the gameplay, which was kind of boring, and as the game went on, it was still boring. It gave some extra things, like some abilities that were cooler and were fun to use. Each character unlocked an ult, effectively, their super special ability. But even without that, the clear reason to play this game is for the story and for the characters, which only got better. I only became more emotionally invested. I even teared up a couple times.
Oh, wow.
I didn't expect, with this kind of game, did not expect that at all. But the way that it's done, the voice acting is great. The steps the narrative takes really just added to the reasons, the motivations for why the characters ended up acting the way they did and did the things they did. It's just really, really good. The comedy is still really funny. I actually found out later that one of the writers from the Guardians of the Galaxy movie was on the writing team for the video game, and that definitely showed, because there were certain moments that were definitely or could have been taken right out of the one of the Marvel movies. But if I'm comparing this to the Marvel movies, I have to say this is probably the best iteration of Guardians of the Galaxy story-wise out of any of their appearances.
You've got more time. It's what, a 40-hour RPG action-adventure game?
Yeah, exactly. But then that's actually the same thing I thought, because I was like, man, it's got me invested in the characters in ways that the movies never did. And like you said, it's solely because of the fact it's a video game, which really, while I was sitting there playing it, I was like, man, this is really one of the reasons why I love video games so much. Is it really just gives you way much more time to experience characters and I wouldn't say explore themes, but not in this game.
It also puts you in there. Really the nature of video games being interactive puts you in their shoes.
They do,
in ways that film and TV just can't.
It did. There's actually a joke that made me chuckle just because of the way it sounded early in the game, and then out of nowhere, they bring it up again. Not in like a surprise way, but in a way I started clapping, because I was like, yeah, there we go. And it built into the hype of the moment. It was great. Gameplay, like I said, this game needs to be played on easy. I couldn't imagine playing this on anything other than that, because even with it being on easy, as I fought more and more bosses, they were just sometimes bullet sponges. I would just I would hold down R2, occasionally hold down L1 and press X twice to activate someone's ability, like to throw grenades, or for Gamora to do a big strong slash. It never really got better. Well, I mean, it did, but I never felt like I was, what's the word I'm looking for? I never felt like I was enjoying it the way that I was supposed to enjoy it. Because I mentioned when I mentioned it, it was one of my favorite games of the year. I talked about how the huddle up moments where Peter would hold up his little Walkman, gather his teammates to give them a pep talk, and then go into the fight again, renewed with some kind of 80s rock song playing in the background. It really would have been so much better if the gameplay was fast and vibrant, and I was able to do a lot more with it. But it just never gave me that, and it sets it up in a way that if it did have those kind of gameplay elements, I would put this a lot higher than it ended up being. But despite that, I still really, really enjoyed my time with this game. It was better than I could have expected it to be, which is amazing, because when I first saw this game be showed at what was it, E3 of
it was E3 of this last year. It was at the Square Enix Presents thing.
Yeah. From my thoughts on that when I first saw it, never would have thought I would have liked it as much as I ended up liking it. Great game.
Fantastic.
Besides that, though, I played, like I said, the Final Fantasy VII Remake, my second playthrough, begun that on PS5. Man, load times are so good.
That's something about that original game on PS4. Those load times are long.
Yeah. I booted up the game, and in the span of like 30 seconds, I was in the game.
And what you'll discover as you continue down this thing, like I'll play games on my PC, and I get so mad every time there's a loading screen. I get furious. I'm sitting here, I'm like, why is this taking 45 seconds? Like, which in reality, not that long, but it's just the fact of like, dude, on my PlayStation 5, this wouldn't be here.
Mm-hmm. Which was funny, because going back to Guardians of the Galaxy real quick, I had the PS4 version, so I didn't have those great load times, and it was noticeable. I would sit there and be like, if I play this game on PS5, these load times when I die would be very, very, very quick. But they were kind of slow at certain points on the PS4 version of the game. That being said, I barely died in that game. It was only like falling or crashing or something like that. Either way, the Final Fantasy VII Remake definitely improved in that quality. It looks more detailed than it did in the PS4 version, which,
thank God.
Obviously, yeah. Specifically, I was thinking of character faces.
Oh.
which were already good in the original one.
Oh, no, the
better
models
now.
were fine. It was the environments that were
Yeah.
ugly.
Which are also great now.
Okay.
But way better now. It's very, very, very noticeable. Obviously, that was one of the big selling points of the PS5 version, because that was one of the bigger complaints people put out for the game. Looks great in that regard. Actually, during the motorcycle sequence, they had adaptive triggers. Like, I would thrum the throttle on the motorcycle, and it wasn't like it wasn't as substantial as like Returnals when I got my hands on that game, but it was definitely there. So I know you like it. Don't know whether you would like that part of it, if they did enough for you to really write home about it.
Mm-hmm.
But it felt nice to press. Felt like I was really pressing on the throttle of some kind of a motorcycle or some kind of vehicle to make me go faster.
Very nice.
Yeah, I only 3 hours into the game, 4 hours into the games. Yeah, something like that. So, I'll see how much better it performs going into the future, but I think I've seen a lot of the better things about this PS5 version of Final Fantasy VII Remake. It's very good.
Lovely. You haven't started the integrate stuff, though?
No. We were talking a little bit before this. I'll start it when it has its part in the gameplay, in the story, because I haven't gotten to that point
you're pressing up on that, then.
I am. I'm close.
Yeah. All right. Well, there you go. Ladies and gentlemen, we ran a little long this week. Wow. Hour 40. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you made it to this part, thank you so much for listening. We really do appreciate it. Remember, you can get this show every Monday, 8 a.m., youtube.com/2pennygamescast, or mainstream podcast services of your choice, Spotify, SoundCloud, Google Podcast, Apple Podcasts. Please, please, please drop a like, drop a follow, share it with a friend, and give us a nice little 5-star rating. We really, really do appreciate it. It helps us get circulated and thrown in front of more eyes. Also remember, Tuesday, 1 p.m. Central Time, twitch.tv/2pennygames. Hype! Have you ever played? Phil continues his, I said 1 p.m. again, just because of the habit of the rigmarole. Connor, stop dying. 2 p.m. Central Time.
I'm living.
This next week. Please stick out for that. I hope to have more of the Metal Gear Solid 2 archive streams put up. I've got some of it edited, and then I just need to go through and finish it off real quick. So we'll see if I can, muster the courage to do all of that. But until next time, thank you so much for your time. Have a great week. And Connor, say goodbye to the people.
Goodbye.